What's up, duelists? Your boy is back. I am back with a brand new deck. 3 videos in a row, 3 days in a row. It's almost like Christmas, but in January. This deck is so much fun to play. If I had to pill someone on this format, if I had to sell someone on this format, I would hand them this exact deck, and I'd be like, hey, yo, go nuts, bro. Go crazy. Have fun. Get your plus ones, loop your powerful trap cards, etc., etc. The way this deck works is it plays like Quick Draw Dandy Warrior, but there's two major differences. The biggest difference is that, of course, you have two Mask of Darkness in the main deck. This guy is so busted. He lets you reuse all of the best cards in the format. I think all of the best cards in Edison format are actually purple cards. The purple cards have the highest power level. Torrential Tribute is more powerful than most spells and most monsters. Solemn Judgment is more powerful than most spells and most monsters. Mirror Force, you get what I'm saying here. You get the idea. So basically, reusing those cards is incredibly strong. Getting access to two Solemn Judgments in one game can make it like very difficult for some decks to ever really get going. Same thing with just looping Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, or just, I don't know, it just gives you a lot of resources. And then the second big change, the second big difference here is that we are playing Spirit Reaper instead of Gores in the main. And the reason I'm playing Spirit Reaper instead of Gores in the main is because we have a ton of back row. We have 15 trap cards, 16 back row if you count the Space Typhoon as well. And then on top of that, we have lots of really fun ways to make sure this Spirit Reaper gets forced through, aka Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, Dimensional Prison, and sometimes you just need him to stall you out a bit because this deck is a little bit more monster light than the decks I normally play. Another nice thing about Spirit Reaper is it is a debris target, which is really cool, and that does come up quite a bit if he does get popped, whatever, you get the idea. The rest of the deck, pretty straightforward. You have all the best quick draw monsters. You have quick draw Dandelion Debris. We're not playing the full three debris like I normally like to because we're not playing Charge with Light Brigade and we're not playing a lot of Raikos and Hamster. I think Hamster is the worst of the flip effect monsters in the deck because going second is just very, very bad. At least going second with Mask of Darkness, you can like Phoenix Wing your opponent's monster, then flip your mask and get your Phoenix Wing back or something like that. To that nature where it's not entirely useless going second, whereas Hamster going second is quite bad, I'm not going to lie. Only 2 Pot of Avarice because once again we're not playing that Charge, Hamster, etc. The sideboard is where all the magic happens. We're on Triple Breaker, the Magical Warrior. This is like the best card in the format. I am highly, highly convinced that this card is just one of the best things you can summon. I think that it was probably a mistake that this card ever went up to 3 early on in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. It's just so incredibly powerful in some matchups that it oftentimes single-handedly not only puts you in an advantageous position, but sometimes it can single-handedly win you the game, which is insane. Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, very high on this card. It's great against everything. It's good against frogs. It's good against Vayu Turbo. It's good against the Plant Mirror. It's good against Amaryllis bullshit. It's basically good against everything. It stops Norlaris, Phantom of Chaos, that sort of stuff. It's not quite good enough to main. You could maybe main one copy. Wouldn't be the weirdest thing, but finding space for it's kind of awkward, and it's non-engine. So it's just a dude. He's also 1800, which means if they board in DDVs, then he's a solid beater. And then Gore's Triple Crow, another way to just hate out the graveyard. This card's great versus zombies. It's also great versus other Pot of Avarice decks, which can give you a bit of a headache. And I think that you just need a lot of graveyard hate because the graveyard strategies in Edison are so ungodly powerful. They're so annoyingly good that I think just if your deck can support Triple Crow, probably should be on Triple Crow. It's good versus like that Dark Calling shit. It's good versus like Miracle Fusion. It's good versus Hero Blast. It just like stops a lot of stuff. And I think DD Crow it's pretty necessary. 2 Book of Moon is for Vanity's Fiend. I hate that card. 1 Compulsory. This is for the Vayu Turbo matchup. It also helps you versus a lot of decks because it can answer Resolve Stardust. And it can also help you get rid of annoying monsters like Titanial that can sit and play. Obviously, it's not the best versus Titanial if they have tokens, but if they have just Titanial, Compulsory is a nice way to answer a Resolve one. You can loop it with Mask of Darkness. And it's also great with Breaker, so it has a nice synergy in the post-board games. One, pulling the rug for frogs. You already do a pretty good job versus frogs with plants because Titanial is a house versus that deck. Quickdraw Debris Dandy is a house versus that deck. And then being able to loop stuff like Solemn Judgment or Trap Dust Shoot is pretty busted as well. But I think having one extra pulling the rug is pretty good. One extra Dust Tornado for Royal Oppression. That card is pretty annoying. And then one Threatening Roar. This is for dragons because I do not like playing against that deck. So I just side in the Threatening Roar. We Threatening Roar them, and then on our turn, we can Black Rose them. Or we can flip Mask, get back our Threatening Roar, and then try again the next turn. I suppose not a bad sideboard card. Also helps a lot versus Glads. Extra deck is fairly straightforward. We do have Trident Dragon because we do have Call of the Haunted in the main. Trident Dragon is a 2-card OTK combo where if you have Debris Dragon and Call of the Haunted, you can debris back your 3-star, or 2-star actually, Raikou, synchro into Iron Chain, and then call back the debris, synchro with the Iron Chain and the debris to make Trident Dragon, and hit for 9,000, whatever. It's very busted. I don't have Cyber Dragons in this list. I've been on the fence about Cyber Dragon in this deck in general. I've not been as impressed as I have been with Breaker. I think moving away from Cyber Dragon is gonna be the way I approach this deck moving forward. Just because it's kind of a liability if it sits in play. It can be made into Chimera Tech from your opponents. It's a little bit awkward when you do have those dandy tokens. You can't really compound with it. Your deck sticks to the board pretty easily, so having the Cyber Dragons around is not ideal. It's still Cyber Dragon, right? It's still one of the best cards, but machines aren't the most popular deck, surprisingly, because the deck is fucking crazy. But even against that deck, oftentimes they'll struggle to deal with just Debris Nuke anyway, so I think we have an okay enough matchup versus Machina that we don't necessarily need to have the Cyber Dragons here. I could be wrong about that. If it's possible, if the meta shifts and more Machina decks become more popular, you might want System Downs or Cyber Dragon. If I remember correctly, I think Jeff Jones cited System Downs. But yeah, let's go ahead and move into the match. I've got one match for you guys here today. It's versus Xavier. He asked me if I'm feeling better, and I am, which is very kind. Thank you, Xavier, for asking. He gets to go first. He starts off with Armageddon Knight, send Necrogardener, set 3 and pass. So at this point in the game, I know exactly what my opponent is up to. He's trying to make sure he can drop Caius the Shadow Monarch next turn. And so he's set his whole hand to protect his Armageddon Knight from getting run over by battle. And he's sent Necrogardener to make sure I can't attack over it with a weaker monster. So I'm thinking here, okay, he's got Bottomless, he's got Solemn Judgment, he's got one Unknown. I don't know what the Unknown is, but he definitely has Bottomless, and he definitely has Solemn Judgment. Because, well, usually decks that play Armageddon Knight play Bottomless. Value Turbo, for example, plays Bottomless. The other deck, what is that other deck? I don't know. I don't know if there's another deck that plays Armageddon and Necrogardener besides Value Turbo. But, yeah, it's basically representing Bottomless Solemn because you wouldn't send Necro. You would send Plague if you didn't have a way to protect Armageddon on the summon. And then you wouldn't set 3 without Solemn in that deck unless he was playing Starlight Road. If he's playing Starlight Road, well, I've lost. There's nothing I can do about that. But based off of what he's representing, which is Caius in hand, Bottomless Solemn, I think the best play here is to Heavy Storm. He's going to chain Solemn Judgment. Great exchange for us, by the way. 1 for 1, but we get the 4,000. And then, oh, fucking accidental zoom. Pass, basically. Don't play into his Caius. Dust Shoot isn't quite live. Maybe he goes for a big committal play here. But we need to draw something that gets us out of this situation one way or another. Because if we get Caius next turn, we're just not winning. It is a bit of an unlucky start from us here that we do have the Avarice and the Mask of Darkness in our opener. These are kind of our later game cards. And we went second into an opponent who set 3. So the Trap Dust Shoot was not live, unfortunately. But that being said, we have ways of getting out of this situation. He's going to Rota for Greffer. He's going to pitch his Vayu in hand and send a Sirocco. But he's not going to overcommit into Gores. He only attacked with the Armageddon Knight, then did the Greffer thing main phase 2. I think he could have gotten a little bit more aggressive with it, but I like playing around Gores because I just passed. And he has that Caius in hand. I know he has that Caius in hand. So he's going to attack with Armageddon first, hold up the Caius, represent the Caius, and then if I drop Gores, he can Caius it. We thankfully do top deck out of this situation. We do draw Foolish Burial. And now that that Solemn Judgment is gone, the only thing that's protecting him from a field nuke here is Royal Oppression. I'm going to Foolish Dandelion. If this resolves, then maybe we have a shot. The Dandelion does resolve. He doesn't have Royal Oppression. I'm going to Normal Debris. I'm going to Black Rose. He's going to chain Bottomless. And then we're going to get our tokens. And all of a sudden, I'm feeling pretty good. He's got Armed Wing. He can attack a token. He's got Caius still in hand, I'm assuming. Looks like my read was correct. But now we're kind of vibing and chilling. And we've got a couple monsters towards our Avarice. We got tokens in play if we draw our own Caius. We're actually kind of killing it right now. So he's going to go for the Armed Wing. And he's going to go for a normal summon Vayu and attack both. On this turn, we draw Solemn Judgment, which is perfect. That means we can stop the Caius, so best possible, kind of. Couple of best possibles back-to-back. Foolish into Solemn Judgment. That being said, our opening hand could have been better, so we deserved that luck, honestly. He's going to sack for Caius. We're going to Solemn the Caius. Exactly how we drew it up. Attack with the Armed Wing. Raiko's going to pop the Armed Wing, mill 3. We are going to mill our Dust Tornado. Kind of sucks, but I didn't really want to draw Dust Tornado here all that much anyway. Now, he could activate the Vayu now to play around Bottomless Trap Hole off the top for us. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad play. But it does expose his Armor Master and give him no value. Basically, he can wait to summon the Armor Master till on a turn where he can get value out of it. Would have been pretty bad for him had he done it because we do top deck Lone Fire. So 3 insane top decks back to back for us. Lone Fire literally the perfect card because it gets our Avarice live and gets our Titanium in play. We can attack. He's got the Necrogardener. We're going to Avarice back everything. And I am just dominating in card advantage despite having a couple of useless cards in my hand. Trap Dust Shoot being the big one here. I set the Trap Dust Shoot because I want to maybe bait a Space Typhoon or a Heavy Storm. He sets a background passes. We do draw that Bottomless, which is a great draw. I can swing. Fuck it. He's got Deep Prison. We'll negate in case we draw our second Avarice or our Call of the Haunted. Set Bottomless, set Mask, pass the turn back. He passes the turn back to us. And this is where Mask really shines. When you get into these sort of circumstances, I can just Mask back Solemn and it's like, okay. Now I have functionally 7 cards to your 1. I can attack for 900. Set, pass the turn back. He's got the Vayu. He's got to go for it. We've got Bottomless Trap Hole to stop it. He's thinking here. He's going to go Brain Control on the Mask. Attack the Raiko. Mill only. We do mill our second Avarice, but that's fine. We didn't have 5 monsters anyway. I didn't really want to draw any of those cards, so we're big chilling. He does have the conversion off the Brain Control, which is pretty lucky. So he's going to be able to Plague Synchro into Armory Arm. And he does extra deck the Armory Arm. So at this point, I'm in a weird spot where it's like I could Solemn this Armory Arm and probably be okay. But he still has Plague, and I have no way to really deal with that. I'm going to save the Solemn. I don't really want to drop to 1650, be in like normal summon Greffer range. I'm just going to hope to top deck a monster that invalidates this Armory Arm. And we kind of do. Spirit Reaper's not the best draw here. It's decent. Don't get me wrong, it's decent. We can set it, and he can attack into it. He can then trade his Armory Arm with the Spirit Reaper by activating the Armory Arm to target the Spirit Reaper. And that'll destroy both of them. But I think I'm okay with that, because that way I still get to preserve my Solemn Judgment. So I pass the turn back. He attacks into the Reaper, main phase 2. He activates Burial. I'm going to Solemn Judgment that after asking him for his targets, because I can't deal with that. If he's able to put a Silverwind into play and then Armory Arm target the Spirit Reaper, then I'm in a bad spot. He sets 1 back row, passes the turn, and that's perfect for us. He doesn't elect to trade with the Spear Reaper. We can Typhoon his return, and then on our turn, Caius for game. So, really crazy sequence of top decks from both of us. He had that Brain Burial return, and we had the, what was it? Foolish into, I don't even remember what the second card was that was really good. Foolish into Solemn, I think it was, into Reaper or something like that. That was pretty good. So back to back, lots of crazy top decks, but we're able to come out on top because Dandelion is a good card. So he reveals his next top deck to be Dark Arm Dragon. Pretty funny there. That would have got us pretty good had he drawn it at any point. Anyway, going into game 2, we have our full sideboard strategy. We side in such a manner that we are not weak to deck dev. So we side out 1 Mask, 1 Quick Draw, 1 Debris. We side out the 1 Raikou, side out the Morphing Jar. So that's 5 cards out. Then we also side out, I believe, what else do we side out? Oh, Mind Crush, because this card is actually pretty bad in this matchup. I think it's like, you're always like, they have like 10 power cards, and all of them are one-ofs. And you kind of just have to randomly guess if you don't resolve Dust Shoot, and it's pretty bad. I side out Starlight Road in this matchup. They don't have a lot of ways to blow up your field. And the ways they blow up your field is like shitloads of spot removal, like Caius, Raikou, Dark Armed, Brain Control, that type of thing. Sometimes even Bryonic or Dark End. Starlight Road doesn't stop any of that shit, so you got to side it out. It's also pretty weak to Oppression. So these 7 cards come out. Bring in the 3 Breaker, the 2 Kaiku, the 3 DD Crow, and the Compulsory, and I believe the Dust Tornado. And I think I side out a couple of other cards too. Here and there, I believe I side out Call of the Haunted. I believe I side out, can't remember one of the other cards. I might side out the Reaper. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I side out the Reaper as well. So we just bring in 9 cards, because, like, fuck it, we ball. And your deck ends up looking something like this. Post board, which is pretty nice. Let me go ahead and move these all into the main deck, so you guys can get an idea of what the configuration looks like. It's something like this. I forget what the last card is I side out. But you're actually not that weak to deck dev. You have all of your like best cards versus their strategy. And you have nothing that's going to self-own you. I think it might be like Legacy or something stupid. Mirror Force. I don't really know what it is I side out. It might be Mirror Force. I like to side out Mirror Force a lot. I don't know why. It's just a player thing. Anyway, against deck dev, they can hit Mask. They can hit Quick Draw, Debris. Those 3 are good hits, as well as Raikou and the 2 Lone Fire. So 6 good hits. And then they have another, I believe, 6 hits that are like situational. Like, if they hit Night Assailant when I have a flip effect in my grave, it's like kind of bad for them. And then if they hit Dandelion, it's like not that great. DD Crow, I can chain it, so it's not that great. And then Sangan and Card Trooper, if they're in play, then DDV's not that great. So you basically put them on 6 real targets for DDV, which is really nice. And then you also get to bring in all your best cards. Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, Triple Breaker, Compulsory is super good versus deck, and Dust Tornado can help you deal with that Royal Oppression when you actually need to go for it. So you'll notice my opening hand does have 2 of my deck dev targets, but I do have DD Crow and I do have Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. Opponents T-sets, passes, we draw Breaker, and this card is just fucking crazy because it's just, alright, take my plus, kill the Royal Oppression for free, run over the Necrogardener, set, deprison. Now, best case scenario is he doesn't have more back row. That would be ideal, but he does have that Armageddon Knight, send Plague, set 2, pass a turn back, and we rip Heavy Storm like the gods that we are. That being said, we would have had DD Crow for the Plague. Would have been a pretty interesting game to see how this goes. Kaiku's going to connect. It's going to banish both the Plague and the Necro. He can't activate the Necro because of Kaiku's lingering effect. He's left with 2 cards. Neither of these are going to do anything. Dinah and Caius, the Shadow Monarch. Caius can't be summoned here, and Dinah is weaker than both of our monsters in play. So, yeah, we're big chillin'. I think that this is a winning sideboard strategy into the metagame. And he's just going to concede. And he's like, I'll fucking over it. And fair, I would have been over it too if I was on 2 cards to my opponent's 5. and they had banished my entire graveyard, I probably would have quit out as well. So yeah, I love this deck. I think it's super fun. I think it has a lot of potential. I think it's really, really good. What was I doing? Exit. Don't save. No. There we go. Okay, deck constructor. There we are. Back to normal. I think it's really, really good. I think Quick Draw in general is really, really good. This deck would probably struggle with certain cards more game one than your average Quick Draw deck. But I think that this is like, I think this is a more versatile way to approach building it. Mask of Darkness is really good. I think it's just so slept on in Edison format. There's got to be a Mask of Darkness deck that is good, right? And Quick Draw is the obvious one that comes to mind because it's you've got this good skeleton already, right? But then there are actually other decks that come to mind. I can show you one of the ones that I've played previously on stream that I've thoroughly enjoyed, which is actually Mask Fairy. It's a similar approach to the Chaos Fairy deck, but instead of Caius and Battle Fader being your Dark Fiends, and you playing Royal Decree, you actually overload on the trap cards, and you play triple Mask of Darkness as your Dark Fiend for your Sky Scourge. I think this is a cool way to approach this deck. I don't know. Maybe there's something here. Maybe there's a way you can figure that. I'm not really sure if this is the best way to build Fairy. I'm sure that there could be some alterations even to this deck list to make it look a little bit more reasonable. Maybe you don't want to play Caius like at all. Maybe you don't want to play Sky Scourge at all. I don't know. But I think that it's interesting. And then another deck that I was thinking could be really interesting is Mask Counter Fairy. So Mask of Darkness. I think that this deck has a lot of potential. Let's go ahead and grab Bountiful Artemis. This card is cursed, honest, of course. Christia, because you can't play a fairy deck without triple Christia, Herald of Orange. Probably play Vendalgian to some degree. And then you just go crazy with the Solemn Divine Wrath. And in a deck like this, you probably also do play Upstart Goblin just to make sure you see Solemn Judgment more. Because Solemn Judgment is so important with Bountiful and Mask that I think you just need to have the maximum ways of trying to find it. Maybe you even try to make this an Allure deck somehow so you can dig towards Solemn Judgment and just see it a little bit more consistently. This is another deck that I think has a lot of potential. There are a lot of really powerful moves with this deck, namely Divine Wrath, discard Christia, special Vendalgian, bring back your Christia. That's a crazy combo. The fucking just normal summon Bountiful Artemis vibes are pretty strong. I'm not exactly certain what counter traps are legal in Edison format. Let's cook a little bit here. This turned into a bit of a cooking video. I didn't want to leave you guys on such short notice, really. Some of these are probably terrible or incredibly situational, but I don't think 7 Tools of the Bandit is all that bad. What does this guy do when he negates a trap? Target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. Based? Yeah, you could probably play a couple 7 Tools, couple negate attacks, maybe like a forced back or something, some meme like that. This is the one where if they normal summon or flip summon a monster, you just bounce it. So it's kind of like a jank compulsory, but it negates the summon. So like against Caius, it buys you it's like a 1-for-1 versus Caius because they sack a monster and then it puts it back in their hand and you get to draw a card with Bountiful Artemis. That could be kind of cool. Maybe something like this. I don't know if this is the exact configuration I would go with, but this is kind of based. This is kind of nice. You could even, like I said, if it gets too dark oriented, you could go with Dark Illusion. You could play Drastic Drop Off. I've always hated playing against this card. I've never played a deck with Drastic Drop Off on the channel simply because I find this to be very unfun to play against, and it's unfun to play as because all of your games are functionally the same. That being said, I think Drastic Drop Off is a busted card. I think it's fucking crazy good card in Edison format. And I think that someone could totally have success with something like this, as well as Mask of Darkness as a way to sort of build your own time seal lock with Drastic Drop Off and Mask of Darkness. So food for thought. Maybe one of you guys can cook something and have some tournament results. There's lots of stuff coming up. Tournaments, RBET announcements are coming soon. I am still waiting on confirmation from one of the venues, but I have confirmed as of right now that we are doing RBET Maryland and RBET New York, and I'm waiting on venue confirmation from Los Angeles. So those are the three that we're looking at as of right now. And I will just keep you guys updated as soon as I possibly can. I promise I'll make sure the info's out there. The mats are the same, not the same. They're actually new designs from the same people who made the top 8 mats last year. They look incredible. We've been working really hard on the designs. The prizes for these events, I think we've designed a little bit better pricing for these events. So it's going to be a little bit more... it's going to be a little bit better to top one of these events. The pricing for last year with the dark end was very top heavy, but this year I think we've worked out a little bit better of a prize structure for the majority of people entering the event, which is going to be sick. So really excited for the RBET announcements, and I'm excited for YCS Vegas, which is also coming up. If you guys are going to YCS Vegas, make sure and link up with me. Just say hi or whatever. It'd be great to meet you guys. And there was one other thing I wanted to say. I don't know. I hope you guys have a great Sunday. I'll see you guys in the next vid. See E3 Yu-Gi-Oh! Signing off. Peace.